in this technical demonstration, I've moved back to Centrify Access Manager because we're going to now create our zones. Now we're going to create 3 zones. We're going to create a global zone. We're going to create 2 child zones that will reside under the global. And we'll go through the process of delegating zone control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up a little bit so we can see the entire navigational tree. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and as you can see, all I have is a generic zones container. This is based on Active Directory and what Centrify has already applied within the Centrify OU. But now we need to create our zones for this organization. So we're going to start by right-clicking on zones, and we're going to create our first zone. Now this is going to be our global zone. We'll call it global. We'll confirm that it is going to go into the correct container, which in this case is our default container. And we'll call this one the global zone for Omicron. And we'll click next. And we'll click finish. And now as you can see, we have our first zone, which is our parent zone, also called global. We have 3 specific nodes associated to the global zone. Computers, where our computers will reside, Unix data, and authorization. Now, every time we create a zone, these 3 options will be encompassed within that zone. When we create child zones, the same thing will occur. So the next step is to delegate our zone control. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to apply this to a group. So I'm going to right-click on the global zone. I'm going to proceed down to delegate zone control, and I'm going to click add. Now remember, we do have a predefined Centrify group called Centrify admins that we're going to use for our delegation of zone control. So I'm going to change this to group, and I'm going to do a quick search. And as you can see here, there's our Centrify admins group that we're going to use. Now it's important that you apply the user accounts that are going to have this type of permission set. So we'll go ahead and click OK to add the group, and we'll go ahead and click next. And now we need to identify what tasks is this group going to have permissions to control. Now we're working with Centrify admins, which means they're going to have all tasks. You'll learn later how we're going to use different or customized or selective tasks for specific groups or users based on the role that they play in the organization and the Centrify management. But for this demonstration, Centrify admins should have access to control all features. So we're going to go ahead and click next. We'll go ahead and click finish. And now we've delegated our zone control. Now again, inheritance will be applied with everything that we apply underneath it. Now at this point, the next step is to create our child zones. So let's go ahead and do that. Once again, I'll start by going to the global zone, and I'll create a new child. This one will be for Windows systems. We'll call this one the Windows zone. It's pretty self-explanatory. You'll notice that the container has now changed. It's no longer the default container, it's a subset of it. And we'll give it a description. Now remember, child zones can be based off of any specific role type you have. It can be machine type, it can be departmental, it can be regional. It just depends on how your organization is structured and what your security practices and organization practices are. Once again, we'll go ahead and click next and finish. And now what you'll notice is that we now have, under the global zone, we have child zones. And there is our Windows zone. If we expand on that, there are the 3 options: computers, Unix data, and authorization that we saw under the global. Let's create one more child zone. And this one is going to be for Unix systems. We'll be consistent, and we'll call this one the Unix zone. Again, it's off of the global. This will be the zone for Unix computers. And we'll click next and finish. Now don't forget, we do need to apply or delegate zone control to these child zones. While inheritance may be in place, it may be necessary to add different administrators for different zones. So again, we'll go ahead and go through the process just to be consistent, and we'll apply the same group to all zones. Click Next. We'll give this all administrative control tasks and click Finish once again. And we'll do the same thing for the Windows zone. Apply all tasks and click Finish. So now we've created our zone structure and delegated zone control to it.